Imagine opening the Bible and meeting a character who appears out of nowhere, blesses Abraham, receives an offering, and then vanishes from the story for 1,000 years. No parents, no childhood, no death. Just a name and a blessing. That is Melchizedek, one of the strangest figures in Scripture. And today we are going to step into his world and see what the mystery looks like in the ancient context of the Bible. The story begins in Genesis 14. Abraham, still called Abram, has just done something shocking for a nomadic herdsman. 4 powerful kings sweep through the region, capturing cities and people, including Abram's nephew Lot. In response, Abram gathers his trained men, launches a night raid, defeats the coalition of kings, and rescues everyone. This is already surprising. He is a wandering foreigner, yet he just outmaneuvered regional superpowers. Now picture the scene as Abram returns from battle. Dusty roads, tired men, the tension of victory still hanging in the air. The king of Sodom comes out to meet him in a valley. You might expect a long negotiation or a political speech. Instead, the camera of the story suddenly cuts to someone we have never heard of before. Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High. In one verse, we learn 3 huge things. First, he is a king. Second, he rules in a place called Salem, which many scholars connect with early Jerusalem in the ancient context of the Bible. Third, he is not just a king, he is a priest of El Elyon, God Most High. When you see the biblical background, a priest-king like this is very unusual for Israel's story, where kings and priests are normally separate roles. Then there is his name. In Hebrew, Melchizedek can be heard as my king is righteousness or king of righteousness. The original Hebrew meaning shows us that this character is more than a random local ruler. His very name sounds like a title. And then we are told he is king of Salem, a word related to shalom, peace. So, he is the king of righteousness ruling a city whose name sounds like peace. This starts to feel less like a political figure and more like a living symbol. Melchizedek brings out bread and wine and blesses Abram. The blessing says that God Most High is the one who delivered Abram's enemies into his hand. In other words, the true hero of the battle was not Abram's strategy but God's faithfulness. Abram responds by giving Melchizedek 1/10 of everything, a kind of tribute or tithe, acknowledging his spiritual authority. Then, just as quickly as he appeared, Melchizedek is gone. No origin story, no death scene. The narrative moves on. For centuries of reading, that might have been all a strange but beautiful cameo. But then, much later in the Bible, Melchizedek returns like a shadow stepping back into the light. In Psalm 110, a royal psalm, we read about a king that God swears to make a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. Wait, a king who is also an eternal priest? In Israel's regular laws, kings came from Judah and priests from Levi. Those lines were not supposed to mix. Why link the future ideal king to this ancient priest-king from Genesis? Here, again, when you see the biblical background, the mystery deepens. In the world of the ancient Near East, some kings did claim priestly roles, but Israel's story usually separates them, possibly to protect against abuse of power. Psalm 110 breaks the pattern and reaches back to a time before those boundaries, to the figure of Melchizedek, as if to say, that kind of priest-king is coming again, but forever. Fast forward to the New Testament, to the book of Hebrews. The writer takes this small puzzle piece and turns it into a major picture. Jesus is described as a high priest, but not from the usual priestly tribe. Instead, he is called a priest forever, in the order of Melchizedek. In the ancient context of the Bible, that claim is explosive. It means Jesus' priesthood is older, deeper, and more fundamental than the priesthood of Levi. At this point, a big question rises: who exactly is Melchizedek? Some readers throughout history have suggested that he is a pre-incarnate appearance of Christ. Others think he might be an angelic or heavenly priest figure. Many scholars today see him as a real historical king, whose story is told in such a way that he becomes a pattern, or type, pointing forward to Jesus. The writer of Hebrews plays with the narrative details. Genesis does not mention Melchizedek's father, mother, or genealogy. It does not record his birth or death. In a culture where genealogies are everywhere, that silence is loud. Hebrews reads that silence symbolically, as if Melchizedek has no beginning and no end, making him a perfect picture of an eternal priesthood. The original Hebrew meaning shows us that King of Righteousness and King of Peace lines up beautifully with how early Christians described Jesus. But the Bible never fully solves the mystery. It gives us clues, patterns, and titles, then invites us to think. Maybe that is part of the point. In a book full of names and dates and lineages, Melchizedek stands like a door, slightly open, leading into a deeper room of meaning. When you see the biblical background, you realize the Bible is not just telling us what happened. It is using people and places as symbols in a much larger story. So here is a simple insight to carry with you. Some mysteries in Scripture are not there to confuse us, but to slow us down and make us pay attention to the patterns that point to Jesus. Which view of Melchizedek makes the most sense to you right now, and why? If you want to explore this theme more, check out more videos on this channel that dive into the strange and beautiful mysteries in the ancient context of the Bible.